The first sign was not a sound. It was the absence of one. The cafe bell didn't ring when she walked in. The door moved. The bell stayed still. Nora froze with her hand on the handle, like her body heard something her ears couldn't. She stepped back outside and breathed once. A quiet thought landed like a feather. Not yet. And she didn't know why. Across the street, a man looked up from a book. His eyes met hers, then dropped fast. Nora should have walked away. Instead, she felt the silence pull her closer. Because some warnings don't shout. They simply remove the noise. Nora tried the cafe door again. The bell still refused to speak. She stared up at the sign. Everything looked normal, yet felt wrong. Inside, people laughed like always. But the air around her felt thin. The man across the street closed his book. He watched her like he recognized fear. Nora turned away to leave. Then the door opened from inside. A barista waved her in, smiling. Nora walked in, but kept her shoulders tight. Something small had shifted, and she couldn't pretend it hadn't. She ordered tea she didn't want. Her fingers held the cup for warmth. She took a corner table near the window. That made her feel safer. The man from across the street entered quietly. No rush. No show. He carried a blue notebook like it mattered. He sat 2 tables away. He did not stare. But Nora felt seen anyway. He wrote something, then paused. His jaw tightened like a prayer was stuck there. Nora looked down at her tea. The silence in her chest grew heavier. She wondered why a quiet moment felt urgent, and why it felt like it was about him. Nora stood to leave. Her chair scraped the floor too loudly. The man's notebook slipped from his lap. Pages fluttered like startled birds. Nora bent down without thinking. Her hand touched the paper first. One line caught her breath. It was written in clear, shaky ink. Lord, stop me from walking into what I can't see. Nora read it and felt her throat tighten. She handed the notebook back carefully. Their fingers brushed for one brief second. He pulled his hand away quickly. Like touch was dangerous. I'm sorry, he said. His voice sounded like it hadn't been used much. Nora nodded, still stunned. She didn't know why that line felt aimed at her too. Outside, the air felt colder than before. Nora walked toward her car slowly. She told herself it was nothing. Just a dropped notebook and a private prayer. But her heart kept repeating the words. Stop me from walking into what I can't see. She glanced back at the cafe window. The man was still seated. He wasn't drinking anything. He was just holding the notebook. Nora felt a strange pull to return. Not romance yet. Just curiosity. She turned back and opened the door again. This time the bell rang. The sound startled her, and she hated how relieved she felt. Nora walked to his table. Her voice came out smaller than she wanted. I didn't mean to read it, she said. But are you okay? He blinked like her words took effort to process. Then he nodded once. My name is Eli, he said. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Nora, she replied. She sat without asking permission. Eli looked down at the notebook. He tapped the corner with his thumb. I write prayers, he said, when I can't speak them. Nora swallowed. That sounded like pain with manners. She wanted to ask more, but she didn't want to break whatever was holding him together. They talked in short pieces. Favorite books. Strong coffee. Small things. Eli laughed once, then stopped. Like joy surprised him. Nora noticed his left hand tremble slightly. He hid it under the table. She asked about the notebook again. Eli hesitated, then answered softly. I keep making choices too fast, he said, and I'm tired of regretting them. Nora understood that language. She'd made her own fast choices before. A memory flashed in her mind. A past relationship that started loud and ended loud. She promised herself she wanted peace now. But peace didn't always feel exciting. Eli's presence did not excite her. It steadied her, and that felt dangerous in a new way. Nora went home and tried to sleep, but her mind stayed at the cafe. She drifted into a dream she didn't invite. A street with no voices. People moved their mouths, but no sound came. Nora walked through them, afraid. At the end of the street stood Eli. He was holding his notebook open. The pages were blank. He looked up like he had been waiting. Nora tried to call his name. Nothing came out. Then she saw her own hands. They were stained with ink. She woke up with a sharp inhale. Her pillow felt damp, like she had cried. She sat up and whispered a short prayer. God, if this matters, show me gently. Nora returned to the cafe the next day. She told herself it was for the tea. Eli was there again. Same table. Same notebook. He looked surprised to see her. Then he looked relieved. Nora sat across from him. Neither of them rushed to fill the air. The barista brought her tea without asking. That felt like a quiet confirmation. Eli stared at the cup, then said, "I prayed you wouldn't feel weird about yesterday." Nora smiled carefully. "I prayed I wasn't imagining it." Eli's shoulders lowered a little, like some weight had finally been named. They talked longer this time, and the silence between words felt safe. A few days later, Nora met her friend Claire for lunch. Claire listened with a raised eyebrow. "A quiet man with a prayer notebook," Claire said. "That's your type now." Nora laughed, but it sounded nervous. "I don't know what my type is anymore." Claire leaned forward. "Are you drawn to him, or to the mystery?" Nora paused. That question hit too close. She thought of Eli's eyes. Not flashy. Not smooth. Just honest. "I feel calm around him," Nora said. "And that scares me." Claire nodded slowly. Calm can feel unfamiliar when you've lived in storms. That night, Nora prayed again. Not for romance, but for clarity. And she asked for one thing. "God, protect me from pretending peace is boring." On another visit, Eli arrived looking shaken. His notebook stayed closed. Nora noticed his breathing was shallow. She didn't push him right away. Eli finally spoke, eyes low. "I got news about my brother." He swallowed hard. "He's in trouble again." Nora waited, letting him set the pace. That felt like respect, not distance. Eli rubbed his forehead. "I always run to fix it," he said. "But fixing him breaks me," Nora replied softly. The words left her before she planned them. Eli looked up, startled, like he had never heard someone name his pain. "My family calls me cold," he said. "But I'm just tired." Nora nodded slowly. "Some people call silence pride when it's actually survival." Eli walked Nora to her car. The sky looked heavy, like rain was thinking. They stood by the door, not moving. The space between them felt alive. Eli opened his notebook again. He showed her a fresh page. It held one sentence. "I want to be known without being used." Nora's eyes burned. Because she had felt that too. She placed her hand on the notebook gently. Then she moved it to his chest. "I'm not here to take," she said. "I'm here to understand." Eli's throat moved like he was swallowing a sob. He nodded once, slow. They didn't kiss. They didn't rush. But something holy happened anyway. Two guarded hearts recognized safety. And the silence finally spoke. It said, "This is not fear. This is care." Eli didn't call for a while. Nora didn't chase him. She prayed instead. Short prayers. Honest ones. Then Eli showed up again at the cafe. His face looked worn. "My brother wants money," he said. "And he's angry." Nora felt her stomach tighten. Not because of the brother, but because of the pattern. Eli's hands trembled again. "I don't want to disappear," he whispered. Nora leaned in. "Then don't," she said. Eli looked afraid of himself. Like he could ruin good things by breathing wrong. Nora reached across the table. This time she held his hand, and she felt the tremble slow. Not vanish. Just soften. Some stories stay with us for a reason. Not because they're loud, but because they're true. Nora learned that love can arrive quietly, and still be strong. Eli learned that silence can be a shelter. Not a punishment. But peace always gets tested. Because life doesn't stop for new beginnings. The question wasn't whether trouble would come. It was whether they would stay honest inside it. And both of them knew something. God was not forcing anything. He was guiding with gentle hands. Like light through a curtain. One evening, Eli called Nora and asked to meet outside. His voice sounded thin. They stood under a streetlight near the cafe. The air smelled like wet pavement. Eli stared at the ground. "I almost went back to my old habits," he said. Nora didn't ask what those were. She didn't need details to care. Eli opened his notebook. He tore out a page slowly. He handed it to her with shaking hands. On it was a simple prayer. "God, teach me to stay when it's safe." Nora held the paper like it was fragile. She looked at Eli and made a choice. Not a dramatic one. A steady one. "I'm staying," she said. Eli's eyes filled, but he didn't collapse. He just breathed deeper. Weeks passed with small victories. Hard talks. Gentle laughter. Eli faced his brother with boundaries. Nora watched him choose health. Nora faced her own fear of calm. She stopped expecting love to feel like chaos. One day, they sat in the cafe quietly. No rush. No performance. The bell rang as people came and went. But for Nora, the real sound was inside. She realized silence wasn't empty anymore. It was full. Full of safety. Full of prayer that didn't need big words. Eli reached for her hand. This time, he didn't pull away. And Nora understood the message. God didn't always speak through thunder. Sometimes he spoke by removing the noise, so you could finally hear your own heart heal. If you've ever felt a quiet warning, don't dismiss it. Sometimes the loudest guidance comes softly. If this story stayed with you, let it be known. You can support these stories by liking the video. If you've ever experienced a gentle nudge like this, share it. And if you want more untold faith stories, you're welcome to subscribe. Also, if you're looking for faith-building books or resources, check the description when you're ready. Because some love doesn't shout to prove itself. It stays quiet and still changes everything.